I'm Stacy Sutherland, and I'm Vice President of B2B Marketing for Arrivia. And I kind of work with Pat in the development team from lead to long-term partnerships and supporting them along the way. So one of the things that we put together are the surveys, and I typically use Vanessa every time, ThinkInk, and we've produced about 11 of these so far, and so it helps us stay close to traveler behavior, and hopefully you'll find some relevant information here.
Hello everyone, I'm Vanessa Horwell. I am the Chief Strategy Officer of ThinkInk. We're a specialist communications firm that works with technology companies serving travel, financial services brands, retailers, and loyalty programs as well. One of our focus areas is research. We've been conducting research for about 15 years across business and consumer audiences to help our clients validate assumptions, uncover white space opportunities, understand buyer pain points, and also unveil insights into consumer preferences and behaviours around specific products and services, which is what we're going to be looking at in this study, what American consumers feel today about cruise travel and the opportunity that presents to brands and their loyalty offering.
And Pat Young, I've already done a little bit of an intro, but I'm Senior Vice President of Business Development. For Arrivia, I work with our partners on new partnerships and optimizing the loyalty and membership programs that we have for them in our travel portal.
Very good. Okay, so let's start with Stacy. I know the research we've done is probably the same with you. There's usually a premise. There's something that's bubbling up that causes you to focus on a certain area. So what were the motivators for this survey, and what were you trying to learn?
Sure. I think I mentioned earlier that our job is really to understand what the traveler behavior is so that we as a travel provider can stay ahead of it with marketing special offers that are relevant. And so earlier this year, we noticed that there were some booking trends in cruise that were changing, and we needed to validate those reasons. And so today, we're going to unveil some of those reasons and what is happening with cruise as we know it today, and how we can help loyalty companies, loyalty programs, become a little bit more relevant to their customers with something that's in high demand right now.
Good stuff. So the growth in cruising travel was kind of astounding to me. I think I saw some numbers rising from 35 to 42 million, something like that. And what's behind the growth? What's causing it to spike like this?
I'm kidding.
The Super Bowl.
It's not the Super Bowl. I think it's no surprise to everyone that you've seen a lot of commercials about cruise lately, and CLIA released this survey showing these statistics here. But there are a lot of new ships in the industry right now being released because there is a lot of demand. And so what we're finding is that younger generations are now taking cruises a lot more than they had in the past. And what kind of started that trend was it was I would say multi-generational. The boomers who were cruising all the time started taking their children and their grandchildren, and so you started seeing a trend across that. And then you started then seeing millennials and Gen Z booking far past boomers. So it's interesting to see the change. It's really driving cruise mainstream, and it's an area of opportunity for many loyalty programs to kind of get on board and provide more, affinity for their programs.
Great. So Vanessa, what did you learn in here about who's cruising? Who's behind the growth? You know, where's it focused in the demographics and the different groups and so on?
I think what Stacey said is you're seeing this sort of multi-generational trend, and I think that's counter to what a lot of people think. When you think about who books cruise travel, it's predominantly boomers, and that is changing. Right now we're seeing that boomers are still sort of the most frequent travellers, but there are, as Stacey said, Gen Z and millennials coming up. We surveyed just over 4,500 consumers in North America, and almost 31% said that they had booked a cruise trip coming up in the next 24 months, and that's quite significant. And a quarter had gone on a cruise trip in the previous 12 months. So I think we're seeing those trends there, overall growth in the market. This is coming from a couple of areas. Cruise lines have done a really good job of diversifying their itineraries, investing in unique experiences. You've got a lot of private islands being developed, and I think creating those experiences that speak specifically to different demographics versus having a one-size-fits-all product. In the case of Gen Z, they're really into short trips, so 2 to 4 day itineraries, and they told us that in the survey. It's also a really good gateway or an on-ramp to get this group to try something new and potentially become a long-term cruise customer. Experiences are what is driving millennial preferences around cruises. And even if we look at families with young children, 70% of families with young children that we surveyed specifically booked a trip with cruise travel because the itinerary included trips to private islands, and that was the deciding factor. So I think you can see there that there's a real sort of diversity, and it's not a one size fits all. Once someone starts cruising, there's a very high likelihood that they're going to try cruise again. They're going to have a more expensive itinerary, and I think that stickiness is something that's really golden for loyalty programs.
We'll probably get to this later, but it sounds to me like underneath all of this, the cruise lines must be making travel much more accessible, right? Because I probably would have thought cruises were sort of a once-a-year destination, big deal, quote unquote. Now it sounds like people, especially the younger generations, are saying, hey, we can take a 3 or 4 day trip, make it a great long weekend with friends, and do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. That frequency. That frequency is something that came through in the study where they said, we like this because we can take multiple trips and we've got budget left to do other things as well.
Right, okay. So while you got the hot mic there, this kind of caught my attention here. It said that the report highlights value, variety, and relaxation as some of the top motivators. But what I'd like to know is if you could talk a little bit about those motivators, but also maybe just, since we're here at a loyalty event, talk about what that means for people that are running loyalty programs and trying to build cruises into their strategy.
Okay. Well, I think, as everyone knows here, everyone's going to be motivated by different things, and in our study we found that different segments were, different things appealed to them. But across the board, the value and I think the variety of cruise travel just had pervasive appeal to everyone. All-inclusive pricing, which shouldn't come as a surprise, but also the ability to visit multiple destinations in one trip, as well as sort of that sort of flexibility and balance of sightseeing. They were the top 3 motivators. We also found, this is an interesting point, we also found that 31% of the people we surveyed are being a lot more thoughtful of the actual destinations and itineraries that they're going to, given the current political and economic climate. It's not the top motivator, but it's certainly something that is a consideration and really a deciding factor if people are going to take a cruise or not. Demographically, we've seen that younger travellers are opting for group and family vacations, and boomers are really looking for the convenience and ease of going on one trip without the stress of land-based travel. Other motivators, which were really interesting that came up, were things like deferred payments, alternative payment methods, specifically for millennials. That was a real motivator for them to have that flexibility. And I think that diversity of motivators makes adding cruise travel as a very flexible, loyalty driver within a program.
Interesting. So, Pat, I think maybe if you pop the slide up, we're talking about some emerging shifts, some trends, and some things that are changing. And I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about what you learned in the survey about where the opportunities are, what the trends that are in front of us are, both for cruise operators and also loyalty operators.
Yeah, sure. So 2 really important things. I think they're important in the industry and important in the survey that kind of validated that is that there's some shifts that make it, I think, the cruising more relevant, particularly to loyalty programs, is that the shift in age, the shift in the length of the cruise. So there's more cruises that are in that shorter period, 2 to 4 days, rather than the what you might think of as 9 or 10 or 12 days. And that does a couple of things. It opens up to a wider audience, different demographics, age group, income level, and makes it really relevant that way. The other thing that I think is an interesting change that goes along with that applies to loyalty programs is that a lot of people are tending to combine a short cruise with a partial land vacation. So it's not that people are choosing to go just on a 3-day vacation, but they still go on the few days at the destination, and then they go on a few days for a cruise. So that helps, that opens up the industry to more first-timers as well. Most people, I mean, all of us have seen the 10 or 12-day cruises that look amazing, but most people wouldn't want to do that on their first time. So it opens up, the shorter cruises opens up to a much larger audience and makes it more relevant. The other thing is the emergence. I guess it's not really recent, but the emphasis on it is a little more recent. And that's on private islands. Just as an example, 31 years ago on my first anniversary, I went on a cruise and we stopped at a private island, and it basically was a patch of sand in the middle of the ocean. A year ago, I went on one, and we went to Perfect Day at Coco Cay on a celebrity cruise, and it's like Disneyland almost. So they've come a long way. They give you a lot of options, and there's some benefits for the customers as well, where they're able to get the same benefits that they have on the cruise on the island. So there's things that they can do that are included. A lot of times the food and drinks are included as well, if that's part of it. So there's a lot of cool things. And one of the things about the survey, as you can see up here, that a lot of people are taking the private island into account, so they want that to be part of their itinerary. And even more interesting to me is that they're willing to change the cruise line that they go on to try a private island. So that just kind of illustrates how important the private island part of it has become in the cruise experience.
Interesting. You're making me want to drop the mic, by the way, and just run off to a private island, but it's interesting. It's almost, I'd ask the open question about the building of the brand. The cruise lines might be advertising the unique nature and the really cool properties that they have, because that's really what people are after. It's part on board, and then partly when they get to have time to go on, on land on the island.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's just talk a little bit about loyalty as a booking channel, loyalty as a booking channel. I find that interesting that now you have almost a sales channel, or you could, I guess. I saw a couple statistics here that 21% of people that you had surveyed booked their last cruise through loyalty, and 51% said they used loyalty for their recent trip or an upcoming trip. So talk about that a little bit and what it could mean for loyalty operators by incorporating, cruise vacations into their program.
Yeah, I think that's just evidence of where customers in general are going to book a vacation like this. It's not a one hotel overnight stay. It requires some research. But as you said, 21% of the people that booked cruises booked them through a loyalty program. So there's some flexibility that a cruise loyalty provider can provide. Things like points plus cash, the variety of different options that are there that will apply to the demographics I was just talking about, the different types of cruises that Vanessa and Stacy were talking about. So there's just so much optionality there that it's relevant. And with 21% of the people that say they booked a cruise, they're doing it through a loyalty program. Loyalty members are looking for this option in that area.
Okay. So we saw a lot of charts in the presentation before, and we've just talked about a lot of numbers here, but I think what people want sometimes is just give me the top line 3, 4, 5 things that I need to know as a business person that I can take back to the shop. And, how can I incorporate, cruising into my business? So I guess Stacy or Pat, either one of you, if you want to address that.
Yeah, sure. So I think the bottom line is cruise it's much more of an important option for all customers. and particularly loyalty customers. There's a much wider audience now. It used to be a very narrow demographic of people that went on cruises. I think that people are considering more than one cruise because of some of the things we've talked about. So it's not just a once a year or once every third year type of event that someone would try. It's something that they're doing more often as a shorter vacation. So it really is something that customers are out there looking for, and your members will find it relevant if cruise is in their booking opportunities.
So I just question sort of off script, but I'm sure you'll know this. As the cruise lines become more active with loyalty programs, are they following the models of the airlines and selling points from their own programs? Are they entering into point exchanges, or are they just selling travel packages for X and they work out the economics?
Yeah, the ones I've seen are much different than what I see at airlines. I think they're much more around other benefits that you can get along when you go on the cruise. Mm-hmm. So it's more about a benefit package than it is about earning and burning. There are those options out there, but I think it's more about what you get and the different opportunities. As we know, they're amazing at merchandising and providing a lot of upsell opportunities. So I think it's really that's more of the play that they've had lately.
Okay, interesting. So what did I miss? So Stacy, any closing remarks, or Vanessa, we might want to go down the line if you like?
I just think it's important to I think it's important to get your hands on data, and hopefully some of the data that we can share with you along the way helps you understand where loyalty can gain from the most exposure and where it's growing or going. I think the data, certainly on our end, we connect the dots on the back end to make personalized offers or to follow trends so that we are making sure that our members or your members are engaged. So it's important to also pick the right platform.
Got it. How about you, Vanessa? Anything to close with?
Just one more thing I wanted to add, because we did another study of, I think was it back in April, the loyalty and the changing traveller survey, and that looked specifically at generational travel. And very similar to the cruise study, the number one desire across all generations was value for money. And I think if there is one sort of comment that I will add is just how do programs really message that value statement, and cruise can really provide that. I'm just going to read out some stats here. In that study across all generations, the top factor that would increase bookings and loyalty interactions was lower prices, not surprising, right, discounts and exclusive offers. And for boomers and millennials specifically, that was their number one sort of factor over anything like flexible cancellations or more destination options. So I think it's that sort of price point, but I think it's that real value that needs to be driven home.
That's great. Okay. Well, if you'd like to dig in deeper, there are QR codes up on the screen. One so that you can access and download the View from the Cabin report, and then the other one for this loyalty and the changing traveler. So this is the one to do with the generational views, different views, right? And then, last but not least, probably what everybody really wants to know is that there's a QR code up there where you can enter to win a 7-day cruise courtesy of Arrivia. And I don't know, Pat or Stacy, do you want to fill in the blanks on that? Because this is a pretty neat opportunity. I've tried to stuff the ballot box, but they haven't even let me enter. So
you've got to scan the QR code.
Okay.
Yeah, scan the QR code.
Okay, and is it a cruise of your choice?
And then I think David Feldman picks.
Oh, yeah. Well, that means I'll never get it. So anyway. All right, very nice opportunity. So thanks to Arrivia. Thanks for bringing forward really good research and useful information and kind of opening our eyes to a new opportunity in loyalty. Vanessa, always really the engine behind all of this and doing a wonderful job. But thanks, everybody, and
thanks.
Appreciate it. I'm sure everybody will be open to questions a little bit later at the break.
Thank you.
Thank you.